way to Manila. We want to pay very close attention to the track of the storm. We are expecting it to impact southern Luzon, including Manila, by late Sunday evening into Monday, the start of the work week. It will be a weakened typhoon, but still a force to be reckoned with. The rainfall will be the major concern for that region, potentially some localized urban flooding. Kind of an interesting graphic here. You can see that some of the outer typhoon force winds now starting to reach the east coast, but again, the eye wall still well offshore. Let's talk about the concerns over this region, and coastal storm surge is our major concern, especially for the east-facing islands, and that includes Legazpi. Specifically, we have all the little inlets and bays that we want to be paying close attention to as this finally makes landfall. It's going to have a compounding effect with the strong winds pushing up the ocean. It is coinciding, by the way, Aisha, with a full moon and high tide, which is not great news. By the way, rainfall totals exceeding 400 millimeters in some locations.
Those are incredible numbers we see there.
It really is.
On that picture. We shall follow this closely. Derek, appreciate it. Thank you. Well, millions of people have fled their homes in the Philippines to get out of the path of Typhoon Hagupit. But less than a day before the storm makes landfall, many people living in one threatened area still had not evacuated. Miguel Ortega gives us the view from Borangan a few hours ago.
In less than 24 hours, the strongest typhoon this year will hit this region. It will be coming from the Pacific Ocean, and as you can see, it's far from calm. Very frightening. The waves are getting higher and higher. It was last year when a storm surge also hit central Philippines, and we're now here in Borongan, eastern Samar, and as Typhoon Hagupit is set to batter this part of the central Philippines anytime within the next 24 hours, many have already evacuated their homes in fear of what the government reports of a 3 to 4 meter storm surge that may come with a typhoon. Now, the problem is there are still many people staying in these villages. On this side, several meters from the ocean, you'll see that there are still people, still houses, and not many of them have evacuated. And what the government wants to do is to make sure that within the day, before nighttime, everyone in harm's way, everyone in critical areas will be taken into higher ground. But we'll still have to see if they can manage to do that given such limited time.
Miguel Ortega reporting there from Borangan, where there's still apparent scenes of calm, even though the storm is approaching. We'll follow the situation there for you. Well, Typhoon Hagupit is passing north of Tacloban, which is devastated last year by Typhoon Haiyan. Although it appears to be escaping a direct hit this time, Tacloban is being pelted with rain and conditions are still expected to be dangerous. Pamela Boykov has more.
Clutching her 1-month-old son, Christina Hilaria remembers the moment 1 year ago that Typhoon Haiyan trapped her in her home.
We were trapped. We ran to hide somewhere, so we will be safe. We are very afraid at that time because we don't know that there is a storm surge.
Christine and her sister won't make the same mistake this time. With Typhoon Hagupit bearing down on Tacloban, they are headed to a local hotel better built than their home. They know they may lose the house that took 6 months to rebuild, but better to lose a home and to keep their lives. More than 6,000 perished when Typhoon Haiyan made its deadly sweep across this part of the Philippines last year. The memory of that storm drove tens of thousands from their homes. More than 20,000 poured into evacuation centers across the city. Schools, gymnasiums, and churches turned into cramped, noisy safe havens.
They didn't take chances. Many of them decided to evacuate even before we asked them to evacuate.
All around, signs of a city preparing for the worst. A hospital boards up its windows. Drivers stock up on fuel. The army, accused of having a late response to the last storm, stands at the ready. In San Jose, the neighborhood hardest hit by Haiyan, a lone surfer takes advantage of the growing waves. But no one else is taking pleasure in the approaching storm. Nearly everyone we spoke to said they plan to evacuate, but not Ramil Arania. He's staying behind to protect his house from looters. If the water starts to rise like last time, he'll run, but he's very scared.
Lahat naman kami dito,
I pray the storm will just disappear, he says. Not to hit another place, but just disappear. It's a prayer likely shared across this community where they know all too well how much grief the storm can bring. Pamela Boykoff, CNN, Tacloban, the Philippines.
Well, so is CNN for continuing coverage of Typhoon Hagel. Turning to the United States now, protesters fill the streets of major U.S. cities for a third